How's it going? Woodsman Supercoach here. The NRL website and app are both currently shitting the bed big time. So we're over on zero tackle. It'll do. There just isn't much information in terms of ins and outs, so I'll try and do my best with it. First game, Newcastle Manly. Ponga slips in at fullback again, pushing Fletcher Sharp back to 6. And this Kyle McCarthy guy looks to be a new player. I don't recognise him. So a rookie centre and wing pairing, that could be a good side for Manly to attack. Cog is back in at 7. Dylan Lucas is named. I think I'm just going to stick with the Supercoach relevant stuff here because I'm not going to be able to recognise every single change. Leo Thompson isn't named though, so that's quite a blow for Newcastle. And I have a good feeling about Manly coming up against them in this game. Thomas Cant named on the bench again, and a couple of new names down there. And the only other change here I can see is that Brodie Jones has moved from the bench to the front row. I'm just going to pull shit up on my phone, do a bit of research on the fly. For the Seagulls, Turbo's been rested for another week. If he didn't, I was going to pull the trigger on him this week. I think once he is named again, I am happy to get him in. Sure, we don't know if he's like back to his peak fitness or anything, but based on the last game he played, the improvement in that game was levels above the one beforehand. So now that this will be his second week off, if he keeps going along that trajectory, he should come back and kill it. Would have been nice if he could have done it against Newcastle. And Manly do have a couple of buys coming up. We'll revisit that. Clayton Falalo gets the call up for the wing spot again. He was great for us last week. Bullimore starting, which honestly I think that should be happening every week. He's a fucking beast. He gives it his all every time. Croker named to start in the 9, so that's really good for Manly. Toff Sipley at 10, he's all ticker, followed by Olaquatu and the 2 Trebojeviches. Simpkin at 14 to take the load off Croker. Tavanga, Waddell, Nathan Brown. As for outs, Josh Aloiai, I think it was a shoulder or something he did last week. He'll be out for a little bit. And Matt Lodge moved from benches to reserves, whatever. And that's all the changes for Manly. I think we could put a bit of a score on here. You would think Ponga is going to want to bounce back after a not so great Origin and a not so good return after Origin either. Wait, no, he got rested. Ponga will want to win. He hasn't done it in a while. It's just whether the rest of the team can help him do that. Turbo injured once again. Fucking kill me. Get your fucking ad out of my video, cunt. Melbourne Cowboys. Xavier Coates and Harry Grant both return, so Falongo has been pushed to the reserves. I had a little spiel last week about bringing him in as a pod. Forget that. Terrible decision. And nothing else too relevant at the Storm there. Cowboys to win, $4.60, Jesus. There hasn't been that many super high odds games this year, and that kind of makes me want to take the Cowboys to win this just based on value. The Storm have been leaking a bit more points than usual. If you listen to the round review from Bloke in a Bar, they're actually quite concerned with them being premiership threats. I don't know if I'd go that far, but the Cowboys do have a good performance in them, so I wouldn't be too surprised if they won it. I like that $4.60. Anyway, for the Cowboys, it is an unchanged 17. So that also makes me like that $4.60 a bit more. They're a bit more of a settled side now. Not too much to touch on in that game. We'll move on. Dolphins, Dragons. So the hammer comes in at fullback, pushing Averillo from fullback back to centre, and then that pushes out Max Feagai. And that is it for changes. Good to see Maxi Plath and JMK both on the bench. Probably won't be going either of them now that I've got Cam McInnes, and I've already been burnt by JMK once this year, so that'll do. As for the Dragons, as for outs, Jaden Sewer is out, and Terrell Sloan has been dropped to the reserves. I suppose that makes sense with Tui Pilotu coming back in, and Raymond Faitala-Mariner coming into the bench. So Christian Tuipulotu is actually a very, very interesting option. Let's go have a look at him. Right, Tuipulotu, 2.4% of teams. Obviously, that's going to change with a lot of people who may bring him in this week. He's 640k with a break-even of 42, which he can definitely hit. He's averaging 85 in his past 5 games. I won't go into it too much because in my last video I did quite a bit, but I really like him as an option. If we go over to the Dragons cover, where are you, Dargans? There. So they've got Dolphins coming up, Sharks coming up, bye in round 16. That is tough because you need to field a full team in round 16, and then they play the rest of the byes. So Para, Canberra, Sydney, not the easiest stretch of 3 games there, but the Dragons are a bit of a coin toss team. You never know if they're going to dish up an amazing performance, an average performance, but regardless of whether they win or lose, I think Tuipulotu will go over for a few tries in these 5 games. I'm almost cooling off on the idea of getting Iro and saving a bit of money and getting Tuipulotu in just as something a bit different. And plus, if we look at the Sharks, then that gives us an extra number in round 18 that I don't really need, but hopefully that could bump up my score in that week. I'm also set for round 16, so I don't really need Kale Iro. I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. So yeah, if you're looking at him, I don't mind it at all. And no changes other than that. I also like both Toby Couchman and Hamish Stewart as options. They're kind of awkward price. Toby Couchman's 500 something K, Stewart's 400 and something K. If that's something you need, I don't mind it. Sharks and Wars. Outs for Cronulla. Ronaldo Mulatalo is out. Not sure what happened there. And Billy Burns has gone from second row to reserve. So interestingly enough, Sione Katoa has come in and Hiroti has come in. I don't know if Mulatalo's suspended, injured, but with Katoa coming back, it kind of looks like he's been dropped, which would be really surprising because I feel like he's been quite a good player for the Sharks this year. Teague Wilton also returns in the second row. He was a popular-ish option last year, so keep an eye on him. If he has an uptick, he could be another one of those mid-range options. Realistically, I don't know if you're going to be wanting to bring in mid-ranges, particularly in the forwards. If your forwards aren't set, you're probably wanting to bring in a gun to finish off that position and not have to think about it for a while. Bringing in a mid-ranger just doesn't really do that for you. So let's have a quick look at Katoa, because I'm quite curious about that. Sione Katoa is 560k. That's probably a bit more of a gamble than we're willing to take. Does Mulatalo being dropped negatively affect Kale Iro? It could, because their combination has come a long way this year. So that even further makes me want to go Tuipulotu instead of Kale Iro. I've been saying it for a while, he just keeps managing to do it, but he cannot score a try every single game this year. He's done it so far, but just maybe this is the change that rocks the boat a little too much and he starts to have a bit of a downward trend. But in saying that, if you were bringing Iro in this week, I would still be jealous. For the Warriors, Rocco Berry's out and Mitch Barnett did an ACL and he's done for the year. You never like to hear that. And this has fairly big Supercoach implications. A lot of people would have been jumping on Keon Koloamatangi. I know in the top 1% he is very highly owned. With Mitch Barnett going down, I feel like the only two logical options to replace him for the Blues are Terrell May and Koloamatangi. And I don't think Terrell May's getting picked because he's too esche. So these injuries see Kurt Capewell go from second row to centre, Halasima go from the bench to the second row, and Jackson Ford from the bench to the front row, and then a couple of guys coming into the bench to fill those gaps. I suppose any Aaron Clark owners, this could be decent for you. Maybe there's some more minutes on offer now. He's another one I'm quite jealous that I don't have. He's been one of the better cheapies of the year. Moving on to the inferior state derby. I'm seeing Reece Walsh has been named to return. So, is this the little kick into gear the Broncos need? I feel like they need a whole new gearbox with the shit they've been putting up the last few weeks. It's honestly quite pathetic, the effort that a lot of these players are putting in. And I can't imagine a Reece Walsh is going to fucking fix all that shit. So Reece Walsh coming back obviously pushes Jesse Arthurs back to the wing, meaning Mariner has been dropped. Carrigan has gone from front row to lock. Xavier Willison, second row to the bench. Hetherington also benched. Corey Jensen promoted from the bench to the front row. And Pia Cora starting in the second row from the bench as well. So can the Broncos pull their heads out of their asses? Who knows? The bookies seem to think they can, but they are only playing the Titans. Another one, maybe a multi of the Titans and the Cowboys together. That could be juicy. If someone leaves that as a comment, I'll stick it on this weekend and it can go to the prize pool. As for the Gold Coast, Sesefo Fafita, Sam Verrills, and Isaac Fasumala'awi have all been booted out of the team. Alan Fitzgibbon comes onto the wing. Sean Mullany comes into hooker. Philip Sami goes from wing to centre. Jay Majoloff, front row to the bench. And Fodawaker, bench to the front row. So there's a few names in there I don't recognise. But with the Jalen de Groot news from last week, we were expecting a cheapie to come in. So let's have a quick look at this Fitzgibbon guy. So interestingly enough, Alan Fitzgibbon has already played 2 matches. So if you are looking for a centre wing downgrade, you could go this guy and his price changes next week. He has a break even of 5. And he does have a 10 in his rolling average, but that'll drop out first. He only played 33 minutes that game, so line through that. And then against the Raiders, in 80 minutes, he scored a 51. So that 10 does hurt. So he probably isn't going to make a shitload of money, but it will drop out. If he scores a couple of tries this week, he'd be a really good cheapie option for next week. But if you're after that initial price rise, he is projected to go up, 15k. So realistically, you're not bringing this guy in to make you money. We're past that time of the year. If he happens to make you money, then that's a bonus, but really, this is a downgrade option to free up a bunch of money. Maybe he becomes enough, or if he doesn't become enough and he's just a low scoring center wing that you have to stick on your bench, it's not the worst thing in the world, with AEs not being as dreadful this year, but you can still cop them. I copped one last week because Jamal Fogarty didn't play. So that's something you need to keep in mind. I think a popular-ish trade could be this Fitzgibbon guy in for Toya or Billy Smith or something along those lines, since the Roosters don't play this week. And from memory, the Titans have some pretty good cover. Yep, they play all the remaining buys other than round 18, which you don't need as many players for anyway. There's also Sean Mullany here. Tom Weaver, let's have a look at him. Tom Weaver, 264k. It would be a bit of a weird move putting a cheapie in at halfback now. And he's set to go down money as well. Yeah, I don't like that. And they've also got a new dummy half in there, but I can't imagine his job security is too good. And dummy half at the Titans, do we really care? I don't. Raiders Bunnies. Straight away, I'm seeing that Fogarty has been named. Thank God. That would have been such a pain in the ass. Unfortunately, Starling's back as well, so we don't get to see Owen Paddy again. He's quickly becoming my favourite non-Manly player. I love watching Owen Paddy. So obviously, Ethan Sanders is back to the reserves with Fogarty coming back. Levi's been dropped with Starling coming back. Horsburgh's gone from front row to lock. I don't really know how that affects his Supercoach scoring. I haven't really kept up with that. But hopefully he doesn't just pass the ball every time he gets his hands on it and still manages to get through his work. And Josh Papali'i has been promoted from the bench to the front row. For the Rabbitohs. Outs for the Rabbitohs, Bailey Bentley-Harpe from the wing is gone. Moali has been dropped to the reserves. Same with Jai Gray. Jack Whiten's back. Cody Walker's back. And Liam LeBlanc is back. I haven't even thought about Cody Walker for the past month. I completely forgot that he was out. Let's go have a look at him. Cody Walker is 350k and set to go down another 50k. Father Time is undefeated, but if we can pick up a Cody Walker for 300k next week, that fucking is very hard to pass up. And Jack Whiten, just under 400k with a break even of -9. This could be the time of the year where Souths pick it up and go on their run. I did predict at the start of the year that around this time of the year is when they're going to start to win a lot more games. And now that they've got Walker and Whiten and Latrell back, that is a lot of personnel for them to improve their performances. Obviously, they're still missing Cam Murray, which is a huge piece of the puzzle, but I think I'm going to give both of these guys the week and see how they go and make a decision on them next week. Jack Whiten could be a bit more of an exciting second 5'8 option. I don't love it, but I don't really love 5'8 in general in Supercoach this year. It's just a bit bleak. And the same can be said for Cody Walker. So we'll see how they go. And that is all for that game. Tigers vs Panthers. Changes for the Tigers. Royce Hunt, Alex Twell, Charlie Staines, and Brent Naden are all out. Jarrell Skelton returns onto the wing. That's going to be one we'll have to check out. Latu Fanu on the bench. Kit Laui'i comes into the bench. Charlie Murray onto the bench. Sione Fai now promoted from the bench to the front row. And same with Sukar. I think we're going to have a look at some of these guys as well. So, Jarrell Skelton. A lot of people started with him at the beginning of the year. Way back when people had a lot of faith in the Tigers and they didn't prove that they were still quite shit. So I can't say I love the Jarrell Skelton play. He is one of those wingers that gets like a fair few base stats, and if you get some attacking stats, then he gets a good score. But I just think there's better options like him. Sione Fainu, 265k starting. I don't know what his minutes are like. So it's looking like he's playing his 20 to 30 minutes every week. I don't know how often he's been starting this year. I haven't kept too close of an eye on that. I just spent a few minutes talking about Sione Fainu, and I'm just going to cut it. I don't like it. For Penrith. So no changes for Penrith, but this is an odd one. One unused interchange player last week, and Dane Laurie has come in on the bench. I think that may have been when we were going through the teams list and there was just a spot blank. So someone from the bench has come in and then there's been an empty reserve spot there. That's probably what that is. So no changes for the Panthers. I think the Tigers could get quite the spanking that evening. Bulldogs Para. I feel like this could be quite an entertaining game. For the Bulldogs. Oh shit, Karaz is back. Well, well, well. Jacob Karaz coming in at 800k. Fuck that. With 126 break even. Nah. We need to see it first. We can give him a week or two to bottom out a little bit and make sure he's actually good. Crichton's back in after being rested last week, along with Max King, and Daniel Saluka Fafita and Kurt Mann also come in. Josh Curran has been moved from the front row to the second row, and a couple of players have also been benched to facilitate the returning Origin guns. It's not a whole heap going on at the Bulldogs. It will be good to keep an eye on Karaz and see how he goes. I planned on having him all preseason, and I was really excited to own him, and then fucking injury got him. So fingers crossed he can get back to his best. So those are the teams. I didn't have time to get the commented bets on last week for the round due to Origin stuffing around my routine. So that means that money gets added onto this week. So we have a $20 budget. Leave a comment with any bet you want, and if it gets up, it gets added to the prize pool. We didn't get any hits on the Origin game, unfortunately, but we got double the budget this week to get that money rising again. As for my trades this week, I can reverse this turbo trade. Robert Toyer back in. Cool. So I've got 171k, and I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. Would that be enough to get Tuipulotu in for Billy Smith? Not quite. So if I want to get Tuipulotu in, it's going to have to be Toyer that goes. He does have an 86 break even. I misread some stats in my last video. He's not coming in with a negative break even this week. So he's a fine sell, and I think I'm going to lock that in. Nawaka Nitawasi is also a sell option, but he's just guaranteed to play more games than Toyer coming up. And it's also just something a little bit different, which is a bit more exciting. Tuipulotu, in you get. And I'll have to go through and check that doesn't fuck me around too much for the bye rounds. But even with a pretty shitty score last week, I'm quite happy with where the team's at. It hasn't converted into a huge week at all this year, but to still be in the top 2,000 and not have had like a crazy week, I think that speaks to the consistency of my setup. So I can't complain, and a big score will come. It's all good. And I've just realized that I actually probably should get Sharp out of the flex and get another fullback in there. That was my plan originally with Turbo. Maybe I see if I can squeeze Drinkwater in. Maybe I go early on a Reece Walsh. I don't know. But yeah, that'll do it for this video. Quite a few relevant changes in the teams lists. And hopefully we can get up towards that projected score. That'd be fucking nice. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. The channel is close to getting monetized. As soon as it does, that means there's more money to go back into cool shit like the prize pool I've got going. I'm paying for that myself at the moment. Eventually, I'm hoping the ad revenue from the videos will be able to cover that. And then if even more revenue comes in and there's more, then that's more money that I can do cool shit for my viewers. Sweet, good luck in round 14, guys. Catch you later.